Day 19, Radville BMX 30-day, 30 bike, old school BMX challenge. Today's lineup, 1986 Haro Sport. Let's get into it. This Haro Sport in neon green, original frame and fork, original condition. The decals got the nice crackle to them, showing their age. And the paint is in pretty good shape, a little dinged up, not quite as much neon as it was back in the day, but it's still beautiful. Haven't touched it or shined it or done anything. In fact, this would probably polish up real nice if I were to, probably just wipe it down a little bit, clean it up, but not into that. We're into talking about this Haro Sport today and enjoying it and riding it and letting it show its beautiful patina. That's what we like here at Radville BMX. So get a chance to have an original patina like that, just don't want to touch it. In fact, we'll go through it and talk about some of the things that just had to get dealt with. But for the most part, this is a restoration at Radville BMX, almost catalog correct. So let's go through it. Starting with the ground up. Super awesome tires. These are Tioga competition ramp tires. Love these tires. So they're a mix between street and ramp. So they got a little bit of a slick down the middle and street tread on the outside. So multifaceted, can be great at the park, riding it around on the quarter pipe, and also enjoying the street. Tires are in pretty good shape. They're definitely old tires. I'm going to definitely give them a 30-year age on them at least. Not 100%, but just based on tires that I've seen and had and ridden. These ones are just in really great shape and super pleased. They really just jump out on the bike. They're correct, right color to go with the green frame. Inside, we got the Peregrine Masters. So on the Sport, it had the Peregrine Masters in 86. We saw the 86 Master earlier in the series, and you'll note that actually had the Skyways. So if you kind of think about it like this, and we've talked about it a little bit with GT in the 85, 86, 86 moving more toward the OGKs, the Peregrines were on the Sport, but not on the Master. So, the Master had the Skyways, so you could say, hey, maybe the Skyways were, more, pristine at the time. I also think that, this was a way to introduce the Peregrines into the lineup, and then you later see, the Peregrines, really taking over on the Haro line in 87. So just an interesting bit of history there. I know there's people that know a lot more about that than I do. In fact, I've actually had seen an ad where they were Peregrine Masters on the Master in an ad, but not actually correct in the catalog. So it's kind of interesting, which you follow. But for this case, trying to keep it towards the catalog correct, and super pleased I got to put these Peregrine Masters on here with these Tioga ramp tires. Just really feel like it brings out the true beauty of this Haro Sport, because this is definitely one of the icons of the classic 80s freestyle era. Thank you, Bob Haro, and everyone that made this bike famous, all the riders, and the Sport was really just a great piece of BMX history here. So I'm super pleased to show it today. We move over into the midsection. On this one, we actually got Sugino cranks, so might have to deduct a point or two off of ourselves for that, because I think the Sugino were probably a little bit more toward the GT line, and this one would probably have the chromo stamp. I could be wrong on that, and in fact, maybe I have it backwards, and the Sugino are correct. So I'll do a little research and update you on, check on that. But the MKS Graphite X pedals, those are correct, and the disc, not sure if it's an anlun disc, but I think it's correct, and it has a super aluminum, super dura lumen anlun chainring. I think it's 44T, and the chainring bolts. So all of that is correct. Like I said, need to double check that Sugino crankset. Could be wrong on that. I'll update that later in the description if that's off. But anyway, either way, it's great. Right year, 175, and love that crankset. Moving on up, we got the MX hinged C-Clamp, and that's also correct for this model for this year. And most importantly, we have the fluted seat post. So let's spend a minute here, right? So you'll notice the geometry, and again, today's not a math day. Later in the series, we will go through some geometry, folks, right? But what we're going to point out here is the seat post mast, that angle, right? So you'll notice, doesn't seem as steep as the RL22, but it's definitely got some laid back angle to it. So you do not want to put a laid back seat post on your Haro Sport. I repeat, please do not put a laid back seat post on your Haro Sport. And if you see one, please encourage changing it out, because what will happen is that key mast on the seat post will just basically break and get damaged because it's just got too much angle on it already. So the extra pressure from the laid back seat post, will just tend to break that, and then you've damaged, just a beautiful piece of history, and it'll have to get repaired. And not easy once it loses that integrity there. So this one is in good shape, and we've stuck with the straight post on that with the Dominator seat on top. Did get a Dominator seat, white, kind of matching the patina a little bit better, so this is good. Before it actually had a stark white Dominator seat, with everything else kind of jumping out at you as nice and aged and patinaed. So definitely needed to change that, and it was definitely married to a laid back seat post, but we took it off of that, and we'll use the laid back seat post on another project in the series later down the road. So real happy with that. Nice setup. Lowered it down a little bit just to respect the integrity of the post, and also that'll allow the bars to clear the seat, because they otherwise would bump into each other. You couldn't do a bar spin. Moving up front, again with the Dia-Compe ramp tires in blue and the Peregrine Masters on the front. You'll see it has the Haro fork standers and the correct Haro forks. Fork standers are nice, they flip down, show that in some of the after video. Up front we got the Dia-Compe, I believe that's an 880 freestyle, correct for the year. It's an 85, 86 stamp on it. It's got some aged pads on there as well, and just actually ran that through. It's got the recessed Allen head bolt, so that way if you do a bar spin or your foot in the front, an endo, it was meant not to scuff up your vans. So that's nice. Like that feature, had a little extra wide hole that's recessed, so that way there's no bolt sticking out. And we'll show that in the extra edits, mainly just showing this angle with the wheel facing us, so you can't see that, but I'll show that afterwards. And then moving up through the head tube, headset, anlun stem. Not sure if that anlun stem is actually old or not. We'll show that in the video, let you decide. It's a nice shape, color match the bars, and the bars technically blue or white would be good here. I went with the blue ones. Those are definitely original to its color. I actually had to cut off the old AME grips on there. They were just toast. I mean, they were just dog meat. They were hard as a rock. They obviously weathered outside in life, and there was just no salvaging them, and they were just pushed inside the bars. And as cool as they looked on the bike, it's just not, letting you really ride. You just, don't want to ride it like that. So maybe that was a mistake, but I'll show those in some of the follow-up, and you can see and judge for yourself if that was worth it. I normally would never cut off grips, so they had to be in terrible shape, but you might as well have been holding 2 bricks in your hand when you ride around with them. So I think that was the right thing to do. Didn't get too much weathered. In fact, the AME grips on there now are just a little bit whiter than, they're fresh out of the bag. So, but when it comes to grips, you either got repop new, or you're lucky enough to have, originals or older ones on there. But, grips are sort of like, tires, right? Anything that's rubber, they're going to weather much quicker if they're not climate controlled and for 35 years of history. that's next to impossible. So just put on a fresh set of grips and call it a good day there. In fact, the levers are stark white because those are brand new. I'm going to go with repops on those Dia-Compe 128s. They're just way too white. I didn't really see any particular stamping. Could have been refinished, but I'm just pretty sure that you know, we'll just call them repop. I don't think they're anything super special, but they'll weather up pretty nice, you know, eventually, and tone down that white. And I'll keep an eye out for some better 128s on there, which, you know, are definitely levers of choice for Radville BMX. They got the nice locking mechanism right for that year, and got a nice long you know, reach on them. So like those, probably have some others we can change out. In the rear, actually, another thing that's just not correct on the bike is the Nippon Brakes. So technically those are 87, but I did like the green and white combo and thought it looked kind of cool, particularly off the chrome there in the back. So just stayed with that. It's not terrible. Need to update those brake pads in the back as well. But all in all, this bike is definitely 8 out of 10, if not, you know, close to an 8.5 with those Tioga tires. They're just rocking it, right? So gotta love those. So anyway, so day 19, Radville BMX, 30-day, 30-bike challenge, old school BMX. Thanks so much for tuning in. Hope you've been able to subscribe. We got some really cool things in store, including the finale coming up later in the series, and planning something pretty cool for y'all to check out. So hope you've enjoyed this. Thanks so much, and take care.